Hello and welcome back once again for the first time this season, although technically not the first time this year, to the Background Noise Podcast. We took a little break. We took a month off for the end of our season one, but we are now back and better than ever. And I'm your host, Joe.
I'm Jack.
And I'm Joseph.
And today we are kicking off the year and kicking off the season with Pokémon Legends Arceus, which is the newest game in the Pokemon franchise, the newest main series game. But before we talk on that, we do have a few announcements. Number one, for those of you who don't know, we have a Reddit and we have an Instagram. On Reddit, we are Background Noise Pod. So if those of you are familiar with Reddit, go and search up the subreddit Background Noise Pod. And Jack, you have our Instagram page.
Yep, on Instagram we should be Background Noise 2021.
All right, and we might make a Facebook, for the old people who still use Facebook. No, not throwing any shade, just saying. Just throwing shade.
Don't worry, it's going to be run
Just
by
facts,
me, and I'm hip with the kids, right?
That's right.
Yeah, there we go. We also
it's
have...
lit, am I right?
Yeah, yep. We're going to get turned on Facebook.
Yes.
Oh.
It's going to be lit.
It's going to be lit.
Lit, fam.
You're hip.
Crunk.
I'll
crunk this sweetie pie. Anyway, Joe.
Boy.
I did confirm.
Yes.
It's on Instagram. It's Background Noise Podcast 2021.
Okay. Which is no longer accurate, but that's okay.
Well, that's when we started it, so that is accurate.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fair enough. And then we will have, and you will want to go onto Reddit or Instagram, because in preparation for an upcoming for the Batman movie, we are going to read a couple of classic comics, and we are going to give you guys the opportunity to vote on which comics you want us to read. So we'll on the Reddit, on the Instagram, and maybe if we can figure out how technology works on like Spotify and where the podcast is played, there will be a place to vote. Jack, you have the options. What comics we might possibly read, I believe.
Yep. Right. So Matt Reeves, who directed this film, said when he was directing it, he was basing it off of 4 Batman comics. It was like 3 or 4 of them, and it was Batman Year One, Batman Ego, Batman The Long Halloween, and Batman Dark Victory, which is basically part 2 of Long Halloween. So we have it split up. We're not going to read all 4 of those because we sort of have lives. And so, it's debatable. So we're going to place the vote to be either we read Year One and Ego or The Long Halloween and Dark Victory. And that'll be up to you guys.
I'll have you know that I do have a life, and it's spent watching the animated adaptations of every single one of those.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting. Sorry, Joseph.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I used to have a life, and then Pokémon Legends Arceus came out, and now I haven't been able to do anything but play that. So I'll only have a very brief amount of time to take a break to read some comic books. So
took us 3 hours to get up with him to record this.
Yep. Listen, guys, I guess that means we're going to transition into the actual episode now, into the review. Pokémon Legends Arceus is one of the best games that I have personally ever played. It is 100% the best Pokemon game that they have ever made. Like, there are a couple others that are like, these are really good games, you should definitely play them, and I'm like, if I'm going to recommend some games to someone, I'll recommend these. But this newest one is by far the best Pokemon game. For those of you who don't know what Pokemon is, for the 3 people that have never heard of of Pokemon, it is a game about basically some old professor is too old to go out into the field anymore, and he wants to study Pokemon, so he recruits a young child to go out into the wild and catch magical animals that shoot lightning beams and fireballs and ice bolts out of their face. And he says, "Here you go, kid. Here is a small baby monster that you can take that will keep you from being murdered by these things. Go out into the wild and catch all of the others." And that is the premise of every game. That is the premise of basically every Pokemon game.
If you currently know the whereabouts of this professor, please report them to your local authorities.
He's
been on the run for about 53 years.
Well, he's listen, sometimes you're like, we have too many children. How are we going to get rid of them? Let's just send them out into the wild to get them murdered by wild animals.
Be free, children.
Be free. Here is your small lizard that can shoot fireballs out of its face. That's definitely not going to come back to haunt either of us. Go and set the forest on fire.
It's the law of the jungle.
My first degree is in Pokemon studies, and my second one is in eugenics.
And my third one is in child endangerment. So we are batting 3 out of 3 here.
Not necessarily in that order.
Yep. Legends Arceus takes the core formula and it boils it down to the essential elements and then puts back in everything that needs to be there. So the core mechanics is that you have the Pokemon, that you get into battles with one-on-one battles with wild creatures that you find out exploring. It is a turn-based battle system. There's the concept of the Pokeball, which can catch Pokemon. So you can, like, Pokemon comes from pocket monster that you can carry around in your pocket. Pokeball is pocket monster ball. It's great. It works. It just works. And
brilliant.
So the new game takes there's a lot of stuff that's built up around the franchise. There's a lot of like elements that are not essential to the formula, but have been carried over from game to game. That this game just strips all that out. Says, do we actually need this? No? Well, then why do we still have it? And that only keeps the essentials. So it is a re-envisioning, I think that's the right word, is a re-envisioning of how to look at Pokemon. So, I don't know, what are your guys' experiences with Pokemon thus far? Just so we can know where we're all at.
Let's see. So, I remember hearing about it when I was a kid, and I may have had a friend or two who were into it. So I asked my parents about it, and since they didn't know much about it, they were like, yeah, maybe not. And so that was as far as that conversation went. So never got into it, like never even really thought much about it since in the years since then. I've had younger siblings, and they've gotten into it, and it was one of those where, while initially my parents weren't so sure about it, they've sort of laxed a little bit, and they realized, no, it's fine, and they've realized it wasn't so they wasn't as bad as they initially thought it was. So I have a bunch of siblings who they collect the cards, and they played some of the games and all that. So whatever questions you're going to be asking us later, I'm sure they'd be able to get those very easily. But let's see. My biggest exposure to it is probably Detective Pikachu, which I thought was very entertaining.
That's the fact that is your biggest exposure to Pokemon individually is hilarious and sad. It's sad-larious.
Oh man, I thought that was it. I thought that was like for a video game adaptation movie. I thought people were supposed to like that one.
No, I love Detective Pikachu, but I love Detective Pikachu because I am an obsessive Pokemon fan. Like, it was a movie made specifically for me. And other people as well, but specifically for me.
Oh, yes. I remember seeing you in the producer credits. That was interesting. But anyway.
In marker. It was like it was written on there, but they didn't put it there.
Oh, turns out it was actually just on the screen. Joe, how many theaters did you vandalize?
For legal reasons, I'm not allowed to answer that question.
The law requires that I say nothing.
Arson for Arceus. We talked about this.
Oh, yeah. Get that hashtag going, guys.
Hashtag arson for Arceus.
Speaking of arson and flames and flame broiled whoppers, this episode is brought to you by Burger King. That's actually not an advertisement. I want you to know that my first exposure to Pokemon was actually getting like some cards or something in a Burger King kids meal. That's like, it's just one of those things where, I mean, it was, of course, one of those adjacent properties growing up, but I just didn't really pay it any attention. I suppose, I don't know, nobody in little rural Zebulon, North Carolina was exactly big into the Japanese card game, as it were. So I'm guessing, it just never really took off. I never really was interested in it. But then, like, when when Pokemon Go came out and it flooded the internet with its awful memes. Yeah, was it? I got into that, and that was interesting. It helped that I was working at a community center that was next to like a, one of those stop things. So it's just like, oh, you know what? I'll just do this. And like I learned a little bit about it. It's that part, getting Pokemon Go kind of sent me into one of my things where it's like, okay, I've found this just random adjacent property. I'm gonna go through the Wikipedia and just see random stuff, and it's just like, yep, I might as well be reading hieroglyphics. I have no idea what any of this means, but that one's blue. That's pretty cool. And that's kind of all I have. Very, very, what is it? Very shallow knowledge of it, other than yellow mouse man is mascot.
His name is Pikachu, actually.
You
said
know,
the name of his movie.
I don't know. It's that just doesn't sound quite right to me.
Or perhaps you're thinking of Pichu or Raichu, who are also Pokemon, but
All right, now you've
related
lost
to
me.
Pikachu. I will actually say that is a fair criticism. That is, it's kind of like Star Wars, right? Star Wars is such a huge franchise. Well, actually, it's not. Now we have Disney who's taken over Star Wars, so what is and isn't canon is up to the whims of the mouse.
Right.
But prior to that, Star Wars was such a huge, convoluted, entangled franchise that, yeah, everyone knew what the Force was, just like everyone kind of knows who Pikachu is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to the wiki, if you go to Wikipedia, right, that's the Star Wars wiki,
Right.
it's an incomprehensible mess. And if you go to Bulbapedia, which is the Pokemon Wikipedia page or Wikipedia website, Bulbapedia is an incomprehensible mess to anyone who isn't very familiar with the whole franchise. Like, okay, we got types, and we've got moves, and we've got abilities, and we've got what is a Pokemon Master, and we've got all these different types of trainers, and there's all these weird battle facilities like the Battle Tower and the Battle Subway and the Battle Castle, Battle Funicular, and only one of those is a thing that isn't real. I'll let you figure out which one it is.
Oh boy.
That's not part of the poll. That's not part of the trivia game.
Oh, probably would have gotten that one.
Now listen, if it was between the Battle Subway, the Battle Burger King, and the Battle McDonald's, I would say the Subway's not real. Because, Burger King, of course, tied in with Pokemon. That's, yeah. I'm going to keep coming back to that.
Yeah,
of course.
I wondered how you were going to close that segue when you brought it up the first time.
It was pretty smooth. Bravo.
It was a smooth... It was an interesting transition, but one of the things that is great about Legends is I actually have found myself as a veteran of Pokemon. There have been times when that is actually a hindrance playing this game, because there are things that I know how it works. I am putting air quotes around it. Right? I know this is how this works because this is a staple that has been in the game for 10 years, and so I just know that's how it works. And then it works differently in this game because they re-envisioned everything. So there are, I'll give some examples. I'll try to be like high level. Pokemon have abilities, and the abilities can activate during battle, and because of those abilities they have like passive buffs or things like that. Well, they got rid of that. You don't have that anymore. And so if you're trying to account for that thing while you're battling, you're going to mess yourself up. But a new player, someone who's never played the game before, can approach this without having all this background information about, oh, I have to account for this, and I have to think about that, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. All of that has been tossed out the window. So I think it has re-envisioned itself. It is one might even say it has evolved, because that's a mechanic in Pokemon. You take a form and it evolves into a new form, which is more like metamorphosis. But whatever, we'll leave that aside. So I I don't even like. I could. I don't know if you guys want to just listen to me talk about the game, just describe the various features of the game for a while, as a review.
That sounds good, but I got a quick question first.
Sure, please.
This is an actual question, not a what is it? Which Pokemon should represent Burger King? Anything? No.
The answer to that is Guzzlord, but go ahead.
Well, I got to look that up now. But anyway, it's like it seems like what you're describing is like in terms of the world and like the exploration thing, because like was it from what little I know, I guess the other half of Pokemon aside from fighting is like the exploring the world and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the exploration elements and like some of the other things seem to be geared more towards veterans of the series, while like you said, the combat mechanics seem to be more like a little more like you said, it's evolved, not dumbed down, but it's almost simplified for like newcomers and like and veterans. So is this game kind of more would you say it caters a little more to the veterans or more the new, or is it a good middle in terms of combat and exploration?
So I would say it has an exponential curve. It has a easy to learn, hard to master. So they have lowered the entry, they have lowered the floor, so that basically anyone can pick up. Anyone who has ever played a video game before, who has ever played any kind of RPG style, semi-open world-ish kind of game, anyone who's ever played anything like that before, can pick this up and very quickly understand what they're doing. But the more you put into it, the more you get out of this game. The more you are willing to explore the various nooks and crannies, the more you know about Pokemon, and the more you want to know about Pokemon, the more you will be rewarded for things. The more you like it. I'm thinking of very specifically. There is a whole section of the game where it might not even you might not even understand why this is important, where you can go in and there's a pseudo multiplayer feature where if you die in the game, you drop your satchel. First of all, you don't die, you get knocked out. If you get into a battle, not only do your Pokemon fight, you yourself can take damage from Pokemon hitting you, which is something that's never happened before. You get knocked out, you drop your satchel full of items, you lose half of your items, and then other people who are also playing the game can find the satchel and return it to you. And then they get, I think it's like merit points or merit coins or merit something or other, merit badges. They get Boy Scout merit badges for every satchel that they return to someone. And then you can use those to buy items. But if you go to the shop and you look at the items for sale, you look at this and be like, okay, why? What are these items? Don't do anything. None of these heal you. There's like one basic Pokeball. You can get the very basic middle, like the beginner tier Pokeball that's not that good.
Mm-hmm.
The other items are like weird, obscure things. But a veteran Pokemon fan will look at those and say, I know exactly what that does. I know exactly what that does. I know exactly what that does. And then that gives them an incentive to engage in that system. So that's the thing where, like, if you're a casual player, you can play through, and this will never be relevant to your playthrough. You'll never have to worry about this whole system. You can just ignore it. But if you are a veteran player, engaging in this system and learning about how this works will be more and more fulfilling the more you engage in it. And I think that's the case for vast areas of the game. Like the anybody can play this game, and the more you care about Pokemon and the more you're willing to care about the game, the more you will get out of it.
So there's something for everyone, basically. Is what
there's something for everyone. Exactly. Yeah. There's a low floor and there's a high ceiling. Anyone can get in, and you can go pretty much as high as you want to go. And however much you get out of it is however much effort you're willing to get out of it. However much effort you're willing to put into it.
Okay. And would you say with the previous games, would you say the difference there would be that those are more geared toward people who play Pokemon regularly, and it's just, you know all this, keep going? Or would you say previous games were more focused on each one is pretty much you starting over again, pretty basic, and the veterans are sort of just trying to get through it so they can get to the new Pokemon, whereas the noobs are just, this is their first time experiencing each game is sort of, hey, if this is your first game, it's okay because we're starting everything over,
Yeah. So the very first game, the very first Generation 1 games had like maybe 5 minutes of tutorial. If that. Just here is what a Pokemon is.
Mm-hmm.
Here is how you catch Pokemon, and here is a very basic little fetch quest thing in order to get you started. And then after that, you have no explanation of how things work. You're expected to just figure it out for yourself. And so there's a reasonably high floor to getting into the game. And every subsequent game has done a good job of making it easier and easier for new people to experience it. But the interesting thing is, the problem there is every new game, while it's made it easier for new people to get into the game, made it easier for new fans to start playing for the first time, they've made it more difficult for veterans of the series to get to the stuff that they want. Because they have to go through really long tutorials. They have to go through this long explanation of, this is what a Pokemon is, and this is how you catch a Pokemon. Do you know what a Pokeball is?
Whoa!
Have you ever used a potion to heal your Pokemon? Oh, and now we're going to get into our first Pokemon battle. It is going to be so much fun. Yay! And you're like, okay, I've been here for 5 hours. I know all of this. Could we get to the point? And this game has found the balance. You have about an hour of tutorial and beginner story material. So it's the explanation of mechanics interwoven into getting you invested in the universe for about an hour. Invested in the universe and invested in this particular game's story. And then there's a very specific point that I'm thinking of where you get access to you are told you need to go on a quest and you need to cross the river into this unexplored territory. And from there, the game pretty much opens up. Like, there'll be a marker on your map that says this is where the next story mission is. If you want to run the main path of the game, you can just make a beeline to that marker on your map and you can get it done. But if you don't want to do that, you can run 100 yards over in that direction and fight you can go way off onto the side of the map, and you can run into a giant fiery horse that is 4 times your level and will plow you over, kicking you into the dust, and then snort derisively as it looks at your fallen corpse. And then you can go and make that your challenge if you're going to figure out a way to defeat this actually difficult fight that isn't part of the main story. Or you can go over to this other area and you can find a giant bear that will sit on you and also laugh derisively as it sits on your corpse. But I'm saying, like, they have found a way to make it so that if you want to just run through the main path and just go through the game, you don't know what you're doing. I'm picking this up. This is my first Pokemon game. I'm just going to play it straight through. You can do that. And it is perfectly reasonable to do that. But if you are a veteran of the series, after you've played through about an hour of tutorials, the game opens up and you can do whatever you want to do in Pokemon. So, now I do say opens up. I have seen people refer to this as like a Breath of the Wild, but it's. I've seen people say that Legends is to Pokemon as Breath of the Wild was to Zelda.
Okay.
But that's not exactly correct, because Breath of the Wild is a completely open world, right? Once you get your parasail, I think it's a parasail. Once you get your hang glider contraption, the entire game is opened up and you can go anywhere you want. Legends is much more. Here are zones. Here is the grassy woodland area that you can explore and have fun in. And then once you have done enough things in there, you unlock the poison swamp marshland area. And then you can do a bunch of quests in there, side quests, main quests, just explore and have fun in there. And once you've done stuff there, you go back to your captain and they say, "Oh, wow, you're really good. We're going to open up the coastal regions." And now you can go and explore the coastal, excuse me, you can go and explore the coastal area. And so it is, these are separate zones.
Hmm.
The most accurate description would be Monster Hunter, not Breath of the Wild. Like Monster Hunter, if for those of you who have, I don't know if you guys have played Monster Hunter. Um, Maybe people in our audience have played it. It is more like you have zones of play that you can go to explore, and they're not all interconnected. It's like this is the region you're going to explore. You play around in there, do all the things you want to do, report back to base. And then you go to the next region you want to explore, play around in there. But there is the reason people are thinking it's Breath of the Wild is you do go and you find random berries and bits of grass and acorns and other and rocks and things like that you scavenge from the wild, and you go back to your crafting station and you duct tape them together into some magical implement that allows you to that you can make the magic science ball that allows you to shrink magic animals down to be small enough to fit into your pocket, because you took an acorn and a fancy rock and you duct tape them together, which makes perfect sense, right?
That's real life, you know.
Yeah, that happens all the time. It makes as much sense as some of the Zelda crafting. But so I feel like I've talked a lot around it, but I haven't really talked through the main thing. So feel free to ask questions about the game, and feel free to ask how it differs from other games, or how it's similar to other games.
Sure. I know with a lot of games, this is just my basic understanding. I know they would release a lot of games, they would release two of them at the same time, because you'd have each one had sort of its own Pokemon, and you would need to interact with other users to either collect Pokemon or evolve them. And so I know this, from what I can tell, this looks like is this only one game, or is there supposed to be two Pokemon Arceuses? Do they stop doing that?
Well, they haven't stopped. They haven't said that they're not going to do paired games ever again. This is a standalone game.
Okay.
Which actually, so Pokemon has gotten some criticism in the past because, why are you're only releasing these two games because people will buy both of them, and you'll make twice as much money because you'll get people buying both versions of it. Which, for the modern games, that might be the case. But originally, we can go into the 5-minute version of the origins of Pokemon. Back in Japan, there's this guy named Satoshi Tajiri, and when he was a kid, he liked to go and catch bugs. So he lived in Tokyo. He would go into the wooded areas and he would go and catch weird bugs and frogs and random critters that were into the wooded areas. And he and his friends would get together and they would compare them and they would trade them and show them off to each other. And then as he got older, he started playing games. The wooded spaces got paved over because Tokyo is one of the most densely packed cities on the planet now. They couldn't really afford to have a wooded area. He started playing video games, and he noticed that he would be playing an RPG and he would get a rare item, and his friend could really use that item, but he couldn't give the friend the item in any way. There's no way for them to connect, or vice versa. The other person gets a rare item and he could really use it, and there's no way to connect. So, and he remembered back when he was a kid having that experience of going and finding wild critters and then trading them and comparing them. And so that was the idea behind having the two versions. It was intentionally constructed to incentivize trading. The goal was we want people to have to go out and talk to other humans and trade with each other for the cool Pokemon that they want to have. And we want people to be able to help their friends. So you get, I went and I found the area where Pikachu is, and I caught several Pikachu because I found a whole bunch of them. And you went and you found the area where Eevee is, and you caught a whole bunch of them because you found that rare area. I couldn't find any Eevees, you couldn't find any Pikachus, and so now we can trade our excess to each other, so we both benefit. Now, this newest game, Legends Arceus, is its own game. There is no second edition. There's no other version. There's no partner game to it, other than the other Pokemon games that already exist on the Switch. You can trade with them, or you have interactions with those games. But I think the reason for that is the multiplayer aspect is now, like I said before, where if you get knocked out in the overworld, you drop your satchel, and then you lose half your items, and someone can find that for you, or you can go find someone else's satchel that they dropped, return it to them. And there are certain features of the game that are not essential. You don't need to do this to beat the game, but there are certain things that if you want to 100% complete the game, you're going to have to do that in order to 100% the game. Not complete the main story, but 100% everything the game has to offer. So I think that is why they don't have the multiple versions. And also giving you a 5-minute explanation defense of why they used to have multiple versions for all the previous games.
Gotcha.
Which
those first versions really sounded like some some anti-gamer sentiments. It's like going out and seeing other people. Ugh.
I know, right? You have to not just sit on your couch by yourself like some friendless loser. You have to go out and find another human being. You have to go talk to another human being. Good grief. You actually have to talk to someone and say, hey, do you play the Pokemon's games, friend? And they'll say, yeah, I am also nerd person who plays the Pokemon's games. That is, you also are person? Yay! And then you can trade. At least that's how
Joe made all of his friends.
That's how I made all my friends.
That was the exact conversation.
Yep. That's how I met these two. I went up to one of them and said, you play the Pokemon's game? And he looked at me like, what is wrong with you, you freak? You obviously need help.
And then he beat me up, and we've been friends ever since.
He stole all your Pokemon that you didn't have.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, there's so many other things. Like, that reminds me, because, like, in the original games, there's Team Rocket, right? And their goal is to steal people's Pokemon and then sell them to get money. And every single game has had the evil team, this criminal organization that is doing something terrible. We've had Team Rocket, who are just stealing people's Pokemon to make money. We've had Team Aqua and Team Magma. Team Aqua says there isn't enough water in the world, so we're going to try to flood the world in order to make more water. And Team Magma says there isn't enough land in the world, so we're going to try to evaporate the water and let there be more land because of that. Right? And instead of that, in Legends, we have the Misfortune Sisters, the Ms. M-I-S-S, Miss Fortune, the Misfortunes, who are just a trio of like 20-something girls who couldn't figure out how to make money or make a living doing honorable, decent work. And so they're just going out and mugging people for coin. Like, which is, honestly, I kind of prefer that over fighting Team Rocket Grunts.
They're just simple women trying to make their way in the region. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're great. They also have great personalities. They are hilarious to fight. Great.
Considering that's the main villain in a Pokemon game, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's really funny that it's gone from what is it? I sort of like Pikachu. Everybody kind of knows Team Rocket, the funny guys, to like eco terrorists to now bounty hunters. It's
Thugs.
just yeah,
Yeah.
just literal bounty hunters and muggers. It's like okay, what's going on? What's going on here?
Yep. Well, I mean, these games are clearly intended for an older audience, simply because in the very first games you are either 10 or 11 years old, and in this game they meet with you and they say, "Ah, you look like you're about 15 years old. Oh, by the way, your character has amnesia. Your character fell through a space-time rift and ended up in the past, and now you're exploring the ancient Pokemon world." And so you get told that you're 15 years old by someone who meets you. But you also are told that you are the franchise, or rather the protagonist of the games, are getting older as the franchise is getting older, which I'm all for. As a person who is, even with this age increase, I'm still 10 years older than the protagonists. I would like them to get a little bit older. Maybe next game we can be playing as the 20-year-old bandits who are going around mugging people because they're trying to get a decent living.
Oh,
I'd play that.
I'd play that. I would play the heck out of a game of me throwing Pikachu at someone and electrocuting them in order just to steal their wallet.
Hey, if the motto is "Gotta steal them all," I'm so in for that.
Yeah, let's go for it.
I'm sure
Pokemon, if
this
you're
is-
listening, this is your next.
We need to
excellent,
talk.
yeah. We need to talk. I mean, if Pokemon is listening to a podcast that I'm doing, then I think I've won already. I think that's it.
You've made it, man.
Yep. All right. Well, what other questions do you guys have about how the game plays?
well, just looping back to something that was said earlier. It's very very much earlier. You said there was a poisonous swamp region,
Yes.
and there's also dodge rolling.
Yes. This
All
is-
I'm saying is there's a lot more connectors to you being sent to what is it? Sent into some world in Dark Souls than it being a Pokemon region. I'm just saying we need to keep an eye out for more connectors.
More leads.
There's more
This is.
leads here somewhere.
You could say this is the Dark Souls of Pokemon.
Oh god. Oh no. Gamers rise up. This is the Dark Souls of Pokemon.
It's I mean, like I said, this is the first game where you, the player, have you don't really have a health bar. Your health bar is, if you get hit, the edges of the screen get dark and then they start flashing red, and you know that you're about to die when only half of the screen is visible and everything is flashing red, which is an interesting way to convey health, but it certainly gets the message across. I got stuck in a place. I was trying to fight one of the main bosses where you have to. There is a giant fire doggo in the middle of a volcano that you have to calm down, and I was dodge rolling around on lava platforms in order to not get knocked off by the fire doggo into the lava. It's okay. We calmed him down. He is a good boy. He is now the best boy. It all worked out, but I did
Glad to
die.
hear it.
I did die about 6 times doing it. So,
Oh. Would you say the plot in this one was different than the others in particular, or is it a pretty average Pokemon plot?
yes. So the plot in most games is technically the professor sends you out, go catch all the Pokemon, and you're supposed to catch all the Pokemon. But within about 5 minutes into each game, the plot quickly turns into here are Pokemon gyms where you can get badges for proving your worth, and you should go and get all of the gym badges and then go fight in the big Pokemon League tournament thing, and that's how you know that you've won. And so the catch all the Pokemon part of the game kind of falls by the wayside.
Okay.
This game, you are... So the story of this game is you fall through a space-time rift, you end up in the middle of this ancient village, and the professor's like, wow, you just fell out of the sky. would you like a house to sleep in and maybe some food, you poor child? And then you get basically inducted into the team, brought along, and they say, okay, you want to earn your keep? If you actually are explicitly told by one of the captains of this organization, if you don't do X, we will throw you out into the cold and you will starve. Like, yes.
Okay.
They actually say, if you don't work hard for us, we will just throw you out, and good luck on your own.
Listen here, you little orphan.
Yeah.
You orphan from the sky.
Which is the most brutal any Pokemon game has ever been. And then the story is you are working with this team trying to explore the region, trying to catalog all the Pokemon, trying to map the region because new people are moving in and we have to figure out where they're going to live. And then as you go and explore new areas, you find Pokemon that are being driven wild by some unknown force. And because it's a video game, you're the only person who's capable of calming them down and making the region safe again. Because it's a video game.
Because plot.
Sure.
Yeah, because plot. Because in every single video game, in Skyrim, you're the only person who can kill the dragons. In Dark Souls, you're the only person that can kill the bosses. In, I don't know, Halo, you're the only person that can kill whatever the Halo guy is trying to kill.
And so it's anti-Halo guys.
No, yes, in Halo, you're the only person who can kill the anti-Halo guys.
Yes.
And so, of course, in Pokemon, you are the only person who can catch all the Pokemon. And I will not spoil what is happening, like why, because it is part of the main plot that unfolds why these Pokemon are going wild and why things are going wrong. So I won't spoil the plot for anyone who wants to play this game and go in and not have those things spoiled. But it is pretty good. It is the best Pokemon story that we have had in a long time. Maybe not ever. I'd say there's one story that's slightly better, but this is the best one in a long time.
Very cool.
See, originally I thought you were going to say, it used to be that the professor would send out the kids. In this game, the kids send out the professor. It's like, I would love that.
As I say, it makes sense. It's the ancient land. It's like, I was too old to do it before, but now I'll go out and do it as a, I don't know, what do you say, 15-year-old or something? Then
15, yep.
You learn his backstory and learn how he fell to darkness and child labor.
I was to say the kids are jerks and they lock him out of his own house. Like, go catch Pokemon.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that too. Man, I'd hate kids too if they did that.
I'd play that.
You'd play a game where you play as a professor that got locked out of his house by some juvenile delinquents.
Yeah, and he gets revenge, and so he lights the cabin on fire where they're staying.
Oh god!
Oh yes, because arson for Arceus.
Arson for Arceus. Oh god!
Oh,
what have we done? What have we done?
Well, I have some questions for you guys now.
Ooh.
I have prepared a Pokemon trivia game. I got 6 questions, and I think 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. So
it's the number that comes after 5, Joe.
Yeah, I prepared a number of questions for you. It is the number that comes after 5 and the number that comes before 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So first question, most important question. Which of these franchises has made more money than Pokemon? Hello Kitty, Mickey Mouse and Friends, or Star Wars? Or has Pokemon made more money than all of them?
Jack, you want to go first?
Sure. My guess is going to be D.
D, right. as in
Pokemon's made more money.
Okay.
Okay, we got to factor in that, like, what is it? All those are multimedia ones. They've all made video games, books, TV shows. still, one of them's been more theatrically successful. Which one was Star Wars?
C.
C. I'm gonna say C.
Okay. So all 4 of those franchises have made more than $50 billion. Star Wars has made $69.4 billion.
All right.
Mickey Mouse and Friends has made $82.3 billion.
Oh, that's right.
Hello Kitty has made $88.5 billion.
Mercy.
And Pokemon has made $109 billion as a franchise.
Well, not only was I wrong, I was the most wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Man,
Now-
I didn't realize Hello Kitty and Mickey Mouse made that much because Star Wars was going to be my second guess.
You know, I
Yeah.
should have just said Mickey Mouse because technically they'd have that Star Wars thing under their. Well, in my
so-
logic, they'd have Star Wars money too. But wow, that's something else.
Man,
Yeah. Mickey Mouse and Friends is like specifically Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, and that crew.
Pluto.
And Sora and
Yeah.
Roxas
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Pluto and
Yep. But so now Disney has Mickey Mouse, Star Wars, the Disney princesses, the MCU. MCU doesn't crack 50 billion. I think it's like 42 billion. So obviously Disney has more everything put together than Pokemon.
right.
But Pokemon itself, as a self-contained thing, is $20 billion more than Hello Kitty, the next highest grossing thing. So, it's wild that Pokemon has made that much money, and yet this is the first even vaguely open world Pokemon game that we've ever gotten. But that's beside the point. So, next question? Which of these is a Pokemon? So I'm going to give you 4 names. 1 of them is a Pokemon. 3 of them are not.
oh no,
Yep.
Fantastic.
Terrachrome, Sylveon, Agumon, and Blade.
Wow, those all sound like Pokemon.
Yep.
I'm gonna say Blade because that's a vampire.
Can you name the first
Blade.
3 again?
Yes.
Terrachrome, Sylveon, Agumon, and Blade. Which one of these is a Pokemon?
I'm going with Agumon.
Okay. So we got Joseph has Blade and Jack has Agumon.
Wait. Say it again.
Terrachrome, Sylveon, Agumon, or Blade.
Bill. Oh no, it sounds like a pun, like a play on words. It's like, oh yeah, it's Blade. It's I don't know a bull sword or I don't know. No, forget it. Final answer. I'm locking in. Last one. Blade.
Okay. So Blade is one of the bosses from Mega Man.
Oh no. Oh, what? I did.
So now I do think he does have blade weapons. So yes, he is a pun. He does fit. He fits with the Pokemon name. Agumon is one of the most famous Digimon characters. So
Yes.
not a Pokemon.
No.
Sylveon is what we are looking for. Sylveon is one of the evolutions of Eevee, which is one of the most famous. It's like the second most famous Pokemon.
That was going to be one of my 4 guesses.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm glad that out of the 4 guesses, that was one of your 4.
Well, good. I'm glad.
You see,
All
we
right.
would have gotten there eventually if you let
I
us,
know.
answer
You've been
twice.
patient with us.
Ugh.
If we just kept eliminating them. All right. So next, which one of these is not a Pokemon? So now we're flipping it around. Now I'm going to give you 3 names that are Pokemon and a 4th name that is not a Pokemon. Sudowoodo, Golisopod, Crocodile, or Floraplume.
What was the first one?
Sudowoodo.
Sudowoodo.
I'll run through the list. Sudowoodo, Golisopod, Crocodile, or Floroplume.
We need to either put the Jeopardy music over this, or like in the background of this segment, or we need to put like the Pokemon battle music, just like dun, 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 dun. Glyso, Glucerna, whatever that one is.
Golisopod?
Yeah, that thing.
All right, Joseph has guessed Golisopod. Jack?
I'm going to go with Sudowoodo, A.
Okay. Sudowoodo is a large, vaguely humanoid rock that tries to pretend to be a tree and is in fact a Pokemon. It is Sudowoodo. It looks like a tree, but it's actually a rock.
Boo.
Curse you, Japan. Nothing else, just that one.
Golisopod is like a crab-like Pokemon that like stands up on its hind legs, and so it's like an arthropod, Golisopod. I don't know what the Golisopod is as the pun.
See, even they don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
If Joe doesn't even know, what's the point of it being a Pokemon?
Crocodile is a crocodile with like a bandit mask on that is actually a Pokemon. It is a dark, evil crocodile that lives in the desert and steals things. 100% legit. And then Floroplume is just a made-up name. It kind of sounds like it could be a flower thing, but it is not actually a real Pokemon. Currently, maybe they'll come up with a use for that name. All right.
Crocodile looks very cool.
Did you just look it up?
Yep, he's my new favorite Pokemon. I don't know what he does. I don't know where I can find him. He's super cool.
I don't know who he is. I don't know what he is. All I know is that he's very cool.
Oh, he's wearing sunglasses in this one? Oh, yes.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Okay, that's going to be my new profile picture. Excellent.
All right, so Pokemon have types. You know, it's been called elemental rock, paper, scissors. Fire type beats water. Excuse me. Fire type beats grass type. Grass type beats water type. Water type beats fire type. And then there are other types. All right. These are three common types of Pokemon. You guys need to guess which one of them is the most common. The normal type Pokemon, the poison type Pokemon, or the water type. Which one is most commonly represented amongst the various Pokemon species?
My guess is going to be water.
Same. Okay. I'm going to go with Jack. That sounds about right.
All right, excellent. You guys are correct. Funnily enough, the normal type is not the most common type. The water type is.
Huh.
Yep. Probably because it's really easy to just come up with a bunch of extra fish Pokemon every new game. And so they've over included the number of water types. And so they're like, oh crap, we have too many. Now we need to come up with other things.
I mean, think of all the water there is on Earth. How much normal is there compared to it? Not very much. It was the obvious answer.
Yeah. 70% of the Earth is water. Therefore, 70% of the Pokemon must be water types. Obvious.
Makes sense to me.
Perfect sense. All right. So we have in Pokemon, you have the base form, and then as they train, you will have various ways that you can allow them to evolve, turning from a weaker form into a stronger form. For most Pokemon, all that means is you reach a certain level, they earn a bunch of experience, they hit a certain level, and then they evolve into their new form. But there are a bunch of weird ones. 3 of these are actual, legitimate ways that you can evolve a Pokemon. One of them is not. So, can you evolve Pokemon by maximizing their happiness and then trading them with someone else, flipping the game console upside down, using a magic rock called a Dawnstone specifically on the male version of the species but not the female, or trading one specific Pokemon to someone else for another specific Pokemon, causing them both to evolve, but only when traded for each other.
You're saying one of these is wrong.
One of these is wrong. So maximize their happiness and then trade it. Flip the console up and upside down. Use a Dawnstone on a male Pokemon. And only male, doesn't work on the female. Or trade one specific Pokemon for one other specific Pokemon.
Dang. Those are good. I could totally see all of those working.
Yeah.
I could especially see the turning upside down one because what is it? This is primarily on Game Boys and DSs.
Right.
So you go first, Jack. I'm still thinking.
I'm going to go with the... Yeah, heck with it. I'm going to go with the Dawnstone.
Okay.
I don't know. That sounds just weird enough to work. I'm gonna go with the first. What? No. Last one.
Trade one specific Pokemon for another specific Pokemon.
Yeah, that sounds too. I don't know. Not too
specific?
complicated, but it's like, yeah,
Too
it's a lot of detail in that one.
Okay. So, in Pokemon, there is a Pokemon. We'll start with this one. We'll start with that last one. So there is a Pokemon called. Let me make sure I get the name right. There's a Pokemon called Carablast, which looks like a little bug dude, and there is another Pokemon called Shelmet, which looks like a clam thing. When you trade a Carablast for the Shelmet, the Carablast kicks the Shelmet out of its little... It starts wearing the shell as its new body armor. And the Shelmet turns into like a weird, slimy ninja. Free from the shell a lot faster. So you have to trade those two specific Pokemon for each other in order to get them to evolve.
I crave an unearthly amount of violence right now. I am furious.
There is a Pokemon called Kirlia. Normally, Kirlia evolves into Gardevoir when it hits a certain level. However, if you have specifically a male Kirlia and you give it a Dawnstone, only then will you be able to get the Pokemon Gallade, not Ballade, which is from one of the previous questions. Gallade only can be found by using a Dawnstone on a male Kirlia. There you go. There is also, as you guys correctly guessed, there's a Pokemon called Malamar, which looks like a squid. And in order to get it to evolve, you have to turn your DS or Game Boy upside down so that the gyroscope registers that it's upside down in order to get it to evolve. And the only one of those that was fake is maximize their happiness and then trade it, because when you trade a Pokemon to someone else, its happiness gets reset back to 0. So that method couldn't actually work.
I should have known.
Huh.
I should have known. I didn't study enough.
You didn't study enough.
Sorry, Professor.
It's okay. You guys have gotten... Well, Jack's gotten 2 questions right, and Joseph, you've only got 1 question right. All right.
I flunked out of Pokemon school. I'm going to join the muggers or whatever they're called.
All right. So the newest Pokemon game is Pokemon Legends Arceus. The first Pokemon came out in 2 paired versions. I'm going to give you a set of options, and you have to pick out which one of these pairs you think is right. Red and blue, red and green, blue and yellow, or yellow and green.
I actually know that one. So
okay.
So you go first,
you
Joseph.
Go first. Oh, wait, hold on. No. You go first. No changing.
Boo. I'm just gonna go. Which one was it? I'll do red and blue.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure this is red and green because, of course, they released it first in Japan, and it was something like there. Joe, I'm sure you got more details.
Yes. So the first Pokemon games released in America were red and blue. However, those games were edited, fixed up, localized versions of the original games released in Japan, which were red and green. So they made red and green, and then they made blue, which patched a bunch of bugs in the game, and then they took the bug patches from Japanese blue and made two new games, which are the American red and blue. And then they made yellow later, which is like a special novelty version where you can only play with Pikachu as your starter Pokemon. Now, as a bonus question, what year did those games come out? The first red and green.
Oh no.
I'm going 92.
Okay.
Coincided with the release of Godzilla, so 1954.
1950.
Okay, my real answer. My real answer is actually well, 94.
94. Okay, you guys are putting Pokemon older than it actually is. In fact, the very first Pokemon games came out the same year that I was born. They came out February of 96.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
Yep. So they were a late 90s, early 2000s phenomena. Yep.
So if you see me in one of those, you might be a 90s kid. What is it? Posts on Instagram or whatever. You can now confidently say, listen, this is a late 90s thing. So it applies to 2000s kids too. And then that's the soapbox you can get on to, just yeah.
I mean, Pokemon is more than just a 90s kids thing.
Nope,
it is perfectly acceptable. Okay.
It's just yeah. I'm not sure where I was going with that, actually. I think I'm just incredibly frustrated from not getting any of these right.
Hey, you got the last one right. You both got one right. You both got the same one right, and you both each got another one right. So congratulations. 2 out of 6. That's a failing score. You boys are gonna have to see me after class.
It's okay, Joseph. We failed together.
We all lift and we all fall together.
That's right.
Apparently. All right. Well, that is almost all that I have for you. And I think we're getting close on time, right?
Yep.
So.
All right.
Yeah,
So
wrap up whenever.
Just as a wrap up, one of the things that people have been talking about with this new Legends Arceus game is this the new game? Is this the new main line of the series, or is this a side game within the franchise? And my opinion is this might not be the new mainline series, but this definitely should be. This game is 100% an improvement. It does everything that I would have wanted a Pokemon game to do, other than maybe, I will say, I haven't mentioned this before, the graphics are not modern graphics. They're like Wii level graphics. But I don't care about that in games. Graphics are not that big of a deal. Other than that, it does everything I would want a Pokemon game to do. And my hope is that this Pokemon Legends Arceus is the new start, or the start of season 2 of Pokemon. Just like this is the start of season 2 of Background Noise, I hope that this game is the start of the next season of the Pokemon franchise. So, I think that is everything I have for you guys. Thank you for listening, both to my co-hosts and to all of you, the listeners. Thank you very much for listening to me ramble about Pokemon for probably longer than I should have. Let me tell you, we have not scratched the surface of things I could say about it, but I decided to keep it within a reasonable time frame for your benefit.
Very kind of you, sir. Very kind.
And we thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, I think with that, this has been the Background Noise Podcast. If you've been listening, thank you. If not, hey, we appreciate we appreciate you clicking on it anyways. And until next time, gotta catch them all.
Oh, did Pikachu use Thunderclap? Yeah.